was like, as painful and as healing as it's probably going to help me, I was like, but at the same time, if I can say all that shit, was at least worth trying to help somebody else in the same situation,
Yep.
then why the hell not? I felt a lot of shame and guilt and still do at the same time, but it's more towards my family, not anybody else, because that's all that matters. So,
Yeah. Well, and yourself too. But yeah, you can focus
and
on your
myself.
family first, of
Well, there's
course.
too much of that for myself, but hopefully
Yeah.
that'll pass one day.
Yes. Yeah. You're in the beginning stages. So yeah. So let's open it up by, well, first off, how long has it been since you have been sober?
As I mentioned to you earlier, I've thought about this so many times.
Yeah.
Oh, the sober part. It would be exactly 2020, 2 months on the 25th of this month.
Oh, wow. Come on. Because I knew it was a month, but okay. Almost 2 months. Oh, you're
Yeah.
right in the beginning. That's so exciting, though. Yeah.
Yes, well, it would have been longer than that, but I had slipped up on March 25th, and so I kind of had to start at square one again.
You do, but that's okay because you learn as you go. But either way, you're
Yeah,
almost 2 months. Okay. Awesome. Fuck yeah. That's amazing. So
fuck yeah.
yeah, freak, that's amazing. That's awesome. Because that's more than what maybe you could have said a year ago. A year ago, could you imagine going 2 months sober? Like, no. So
Actually, no, I think I had made it about 2 months, almost 3 months there last year, but then
okay.
everything crashed and burned again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about, yeah, like your past. Are you even able to summarize, your history of addiction and trying to quit? Like, have you tried to quit many times? Like you said, you did for 2 or 3 months, you quit
I'm
and
actually able to kind of try to sum it all up into a short story.
yeah.
From what I can remember, like as a young child, I guess alcohol was always kind of enrolled in my family life, I guess, because my family are basically like Newfoundlanders. So Newfoundlanders are mostly big drinkers. That's a big part of their life, I guess. But I remember being young and it was not around all the time. It wasn't like that, but when it was around, like I know my mom used to like give me little sips in a cup and here you go. I think it was like some little thing to help me sleep good at night or something, but it
Yep.
wasn't every day. It was just like once in a blue moon. I don't remember it happening a lot.
Mhm.
But yeah, so yeah, kind of through my childhood, I guess I witnessed a lot of drama and alcohol use between my mother and her partners and stuff. And I guess my first sort of use of it when I got into it was when I was 14 and I had experienced my first family member that I was close to dying of old age. It was my grandfather. Uh, um, so
When you were
yeah, how that,
14?
yes. And I remember it. I remember the exact day because like during his funeral service, I remember my uncle had come over and I wasn't old enough to drink, obviously, but we were in the Legion for the service and he came over and give me this big old glass of beer and he said, here, like downer, but that
Yeah.
was even after the fact of my first set like alcohol experience. I had actually took or snuck rum from my grandmother's house where that was where my grandfather had lived and
Mhm.
I snuck it home in a tobacco container that I had cleaned out at my nan's house, and I hid it in my room. And I remember it was getting towards my bedtime, so I took a couple cold cans of pop out the fridge, went to my room, and had my lights off, and I had my music on with my Discman, and
Yeah.
I was just pouring, mixing it in the cup, and just drinking it. And I remember just feeling this warmth and comfort. And when I kind of start feeling the buzz, it was kind of like, oh my God, like, I don't when I think about it now, like that's so crazy. Actually, I'm kind of getting a little anxiety and emotional thinking about that. I haven't thought
Mm.
about that feeling for quite a long time.
I know what you mean. Yep.
Mm.
So that's when you were a teenager, you seemed like you were like, okay, this is a good feeling,
Yeah,
and
so
you
and it,
ran
it
with
just
it.
continued. It kind of continued from there. I kept meddling into it, and then I think when I was probably about 15, I had met my abusive ex-partner, and it kind of just even got worse then because I was 15, he was almost 20, so he was old enough to buy it. Um, Family life didn't end up working, living with my mom shortly after we had started dating. I'd say it was like over a year. I'd ended up getting pregnant with our first kid, and CPS was dealing with us at the time. And
Mhm.
um, what ended up happening, really, like, we didn't end up keeping that baby because of it. And I eventually got kicked out of my house, sent to my aunt's house, and then I couldn't stand living there. So really, I was forced to have to go live with this boyfriend, which I already knew how he was already. So, but yet it
Mhm.
was the only place I could go. So, and then, like I
Shit.
said, the drinking continued, really, because it was just me and him up till, I guess, I got pregnant with the second child, which would be my oldest daughter now. And so I stopped drinking all throughout her pregnancy. And I think after she was born, I remember having a few drinking times, but it was nothing crazy. It was just normal, whatever times, except for the um, crazy stuff that would go on the father's side, of course,
Mhm.
because that situation. But I would say it started getting bad for me probably when I exited that relationship the first time, and it took me a long time to do that. I'd say it was probably October 2010. I
Mhm.
finally got the nerve to call the police and have them removed. And so I was able to it was me and the kids. And I had this other relationship I had started. And he kind of helped me get out of the situation because he made me realize, like, I was worth more than that. I didn't need to be treated that way, and so
Mhm.
on. And
Mhm.
so that I kind of got freedom time of where I was allowed to get out and experience the young adult life that I missed out on because I was controlled and abused by the partner I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and raising children at a young age when I should have been out doing college and partying with my friends, I guess.
Mhm. How
So
old
yeah,
were you when you left him?
24, 25-ish maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so my party years kind of started then. And when I had time to go out, whether it was like whoever was watching the kids, I was out. But
Mhm.
it got even worse the second time I got rid of the abusive ex because the relationship with the new guy didn't work out, and I had gotten pregnant. And so I ended up letting the abusive partner have a second chance because I was having this new baby. I was scared. He was like the only one reaching out, like, "Oh, here, I'll help you." So
Mhm.
I realized now that was the sucking back
Yeah.
in time. But so I said, "Yeah, we'll give it another chance." And it continued, and I didn't really do much drinking during that time. I give him another chance. It was more smoking weed to deal with my nerves because I didn't know what was going on half the time with him.
Mhm.
But I finally decided by March 2015, because I let him come back 2012. And so by March 2015, I said, "Nope, you haven't changed. You're never going to change." And that
Yeah.
was the end of that situation. And I never have gone back since.
Good. Good.
But that's when I went back to, I have freedom again. And that was the worst time of all. I spent my time from that month right out through that summer, all downtown Dartmouth, man. Whiskey's was like number one spot. I
Yep.
was probably like the VIP down there. I probably had like all the shit, like, I knew everybody. Everybody knew me. I probably still walk down there now. And actually, I don't even like walking down there now because I'm always instant like, well, who's going to yell out my name or who's going to know me down here? And
Yeah.
even all the other bars I was used to going to, that's how I feel like, is the bartender's going to know me? And I guess for future reference, can I even go back to these places to even say have a meal without somebody? Oh, there's Nikita. Hey, you want a Labatt Blue?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows what I drink. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all
Yeah. I think
another
I
thing.
partied with you. I saw you at Whiskey's during
I have a
that time.
picture. Yes, there's a
Yeah.
picture on Facebook.
When I
I'm
was
with
at
the
my worst
Whiskey. I
too.
said, "Girl, you need to get a picture with me." That's when you had your hairstyle all half shaved and
Yep.
everything else.
Yep. I partied with you at Whiskey's
Yeah,
during this time that you're talking about. Wow. Okay. So that
yeah,
was, geez, like 8 years ago, 8, 9 years ago.
long
When you're
time.
like, okay, I'm free again. And then it just kept getting worse for you. Is that right? Like around
Basically,
drinking?
yeah, because it got to the point of where I couldn't even, it seemed like I couldn't even go a full week without at least having one evening I was having the few beer. And then it kind of turned to, well, like I noticed, like, oh, I could have like an 8 pack. Then it kind of gradually went to a 12 pack. Then I know there was times where I had a 2 forks. I said, screw it. Like, I just want to drink until I can't drink anymore and go to sleep. And then if I have some left over, well, that's for the next time.
Mm-hmm.
But I found a pattern that it was always at least once or twice a week. If it was
Okay.
a bad week, most times it was going to be that even 2 or 3 times a week. But if it was an okay week, then usually Friday was my night, actually. Friday.
Yes. Yeah. Unless shit was going down, then
And it'd
you
be any
and
day.
yeah. So did you feel like you needed to drink in order to just like escape, just to like fucking say fuck it in order to like numb out and not feel? Basically, that's how it was
That
for me.
yeah, like well, in the beginning of it, like through the times I started having my freedom times, that was more because I didn't get to, that more felt to me I didn't get to experience that party life. So to me, those times were, there's my party lifetimes. And then now in the more recent times of like with the CPS and just the full of drama that comes from it, I guess those are the times it was more like an emotional thing for me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Mm-hmm.
though there was past times it was like that, but I find it's been really more strong in the recent couple of years, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Now, do you know why? You might not even know why you've been more
I
sensitive to
think
that
because
recently.
it's just been non-stop
Yeah.
bullshit and drama in my life.
You're just
Bullshit and
over it.
drama.
You're over it. Like, yeah. Because really, I mean, all humans are going to reach a point where they're like, okay, I can't take it anymore. Like
Yeah.
this needs to stop. And you were saying earlier a little bit about how you thought you hit rock bottom before, but it turns out that this time is definitely your rock bottom. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, like I said, I had previously had a CPS situation not even too long after when this new one began, but like the last time it kind of all started with a child's father of mine, and he had picked up on my alcohol use was getting a little out of control again. So when he had picked my daughter up for his weekend, he just decided I'm not letting her come home, because Nikita's alcohol use is getting rampant again. And he had told me he had an emergency custody order from the CPS, so she couldn't come home, which turned out to be false in the end, I found. But at the same time, because of CPS, she had to stay there anyway.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
sad part of that was that made me go like completely out of control. Just the
Mm,
way it all went down of how he backstabbed me and did what he did. So for the first couple months of that, I typically drank my face off whenever I could. Like, it wasn't every day, but there were times I was just taking off and saying screw this, and because I was mentally broken. Like, you
yeah.
stole my child. Like,
Yeah.
who, I don't even know who would even do that to somebody who's trying to co-parent with them. I don't know, but he could have just reached out and said, "Oh, I see this has become an issue. Do you want to talk about it or something?" But no. So I guess this time around, I had been talking with him and trying to repair our relationship from that time, and he even offered to do counseling and
Mhm.
such. But now this time around, back in December, I had had a night where I had some drinks and I stayed up all night, and I figured out by like morning time when it was basically time for people to get up and go to school that, well, I guess I should leave for the day and kind of venture out on my own because I don't really need to be here all day in the state I'm in. Actually, I wasn't even really buzzed or drunk. Actually, by that time I was pretty mellowed out. Like, I was pretty good to go, but I was like, well,
Mhm.
I just want to go out anyway.
Mhm.
So, so I went on out, and I have been in conversation with him this whole time. And what he did was he was like, "Oh, well, I'm over on the Dartmouth side doing something." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And not too much long later, I had a call from, I think it was my partner, and he's like, "Oh, well, CPS is here." And I was like, "Well, why are they there? Like,
Mhm.
how do they know if I'm out in the world doing what I'm doing right now? And even if I am, what does it matter? Because I'm
Mhm.
not home. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it around the kids." Like, but anyway, so I had come to find out that he had called them on me, but yet he was talking to me, trying to be my friend, but yet doing that all behind my back. So I basically had a mental breakdown. I sat down on some sidewalk over in Halifax, wherever I was to, on a side street where nobody was, and I just mentally broke down. I sat there with my bag of cans of beer in there and smoked a cigarette, thinking, well, what the hell am I going to do now? Like, and I had to get my friend to come pick me up, and I didn't want to go home because I knew what I was going home to anyway.
Mhm.
But eventually I went back home, and I don't think I was in my door for 20 minutes, but I continued to want to drink.
Mhm.
And yeah, I wasn't home for 20 minutes, and then like the cops were here and I was being arrested for uttering threats. So I had to go through all that. So basically, in that day, I went from having my kids took from me to being charged, and I've never been charged for anything like that my whole life.
Mhm.
My criminal record is like completely clean. So yeah, that's like just made me feel so special. But yeah, like this man is completely upside my life again, on top of, I know where I've gone wrong with the alcohol use, but like, the approach is this time around, it was more of a tactic to steal my child back again, is really the way I look at it. And just his ways of doing things throughout this process is
Mhm.
mind blowing. I can't even get into that right now. So,
Yeah, but it fucks with your head. Like, and that you're
oh,
damn right
buddy.
that would send you into a mental breakdown. Of course it would. That's your children.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, since this situation has happened this time around, where I mean rock bottom, like, it brought me to losing all my income again, where the last few months I've been struggling just to keep things together. And I tried to get work. I was looking for work for like 3 or 4 months, and then on top of it, I was trying to get back into school because that was the most important thing to me. But then the income became more important,
Yeah.
so I could try to keep my house and things going for the kids to come back home to.
Yeah.
And like, so yeah, so like I basically almost lost things. I've had to sell things to survive that I never thought I'd have to sell in my house, like things that mean things, like things to me, like very
Mhm.
important things. And it's kind of the rock bottom of where you're on the like tightrope of just losing everything except for yourself. And then what's the point of having just yourself in the end? Like, and then that's going to be the life that I don't want to go down, because I know what that life is. It's going to be like the life basically that my mother fell into, and that's not the way I want to live, and that's not the way I want my kids to live their life either, because I want
Yeah.
their mom to be there for them. And the alcohol basically took over, I know, my mother. So
Yeah. And that doesn't have to happen for you. You're still young. I think you're younger than me. How old are you? I'm 38.
35.
Yeah, see, like you can stop that cycle right now in your life. And you're doing that. You're doing everything you possibly can, even though, yeah, it's hard. You need to keep a roof over your head in order to have a place for children to go. But you're going back to school, and that's job security right there. And that's feeding your brain. Because I went back to school when I got sober too, at the same time, basically.
You need to
So
keep your brain busy, because if
yeah.
not, that's gonna, like, the boredom is what is so worse, because it's in them boring times that you're like, oh, that's all I want to do.
Yep,
Because
exactly.
that's all
So
your brain's used to thinking that's fun or entertaining. Like, oh, maybe if
yeah.
I have a few drinks and go with a few friends.
You're just so used to choosing alcohol. That's how I was. I was so used to choosing alcohol all the time. Alcohol was always the answer
Yeah.
because in
And
the
I think
moment,
that,
it feels like it.
yeah, I think the other probably easy way to look at it too is like the alcohol to cope with it for the emotions and the pain and stuff. It's like that, it's that hug that you're not getting, or
Yep.
getting from the support that you need. Because I know a lot of the times I went out by myself and I just sat there And I would sit there by myself drinking until
Same.
it made me feel better. But then, like I said, most nights it didn't end that way.
Some nights it wasn't a shit show if I went out to
But
drink,
some
but
were good. And I think
yeah,
that's like remembering the good times is also
that
the
can be
struggle of
bad.
what kept you going back. Like, oh, this time won't be bad. Like, this is
Exactly.
going to be the most awesome time. I'm in the most best mood. I'm so happy. And then you get drinking. And then once you hit that, that should be the cutoff point. You should be done. No, I'm going to keep
No,
going further because this night's going awesome. And then
exactly.
boom,
Exactly.
game
So you'd have to
over.
remember that. You got to remember that because yeah, sure, some nights could be good, but overall in general, to put alcohol in our body, like it will fuck us up. So you need to, yeah, like think forward, think about, okay, so say I just have two and I'm having a good time. What's going to happen next? I'm going to keep ordering more. And you just keep thinking. And then the next day, how are you going to feel? Like it, so just play the tape forward is what they say. And yeah, try to remember the bad times and remember why you want to stay sober, and keep that always in the front of your mind. And going back to school is so helpful. And I tell
Yes, it is, 'cause
people
as
it's a
much as it's
distraction.
like it's very time crunching because I've been trying to do some catch up at the moment because I had a little trouble getting started at first with thing like I had to wait 4 days into it before they're like, okay, your tuition's finalized. So I was 4 days late starting, and then I've had some kind of life drama going in between that, which caused a lot of trauma moments. So like in between that, I can't struggle, but now I've been like probably spending the last few days just crunch time, crunch time, crunch
Mhm.
time. And it's actually been helpful because I haven't had that time to,
Yeah.
get caught up in my thoughts if there's any going on. So
Exactly. That's what happened to me too. And when shit, like when school gets hard, like if the exams are coming up and all that stuff too, that's great because I'm not thinking about, oh, I got to go out and party on Friday night. You're thinking like, no, I need to study. I need to feed my brain. And
yeah,
it's going to be hard because getting sober it can be hard sometimes, but you can get through it. And each little thing that you do, it will keep building your confidence. Like you said earlier that you have like your fiance's work party, was it that's coming up? Yeah,
yeah,
where like if you go and it sounds like he's like he you and him have a like you have a plan, and that's all you got to do is have a plan going into it. Like, okay, like I'm only going to stay, a few hours, and then we're going to leave before like things get crazy. And then yeah,
yeah,
go back to your hotel room, do something different. And each time you make it through something like that, you make it through sober, you feel a little bit more confidence, and it gets more and more and more, and it like snowballs. So sure, it'll be hard in the beginning because you're just like, it's all new. It's weird feeling.
yeah.
And
I
but
know
it gets better.
I know the few times recently that I like fought really hard urges, and then I succeeded and got through it and made it home
Yeah.
without even touching anything like that. I feel I take note of that really closely, like, and pat myself on the own back because it's
Good.
like, oh yeah, like I did it, and not to have an attitude about it, but people that
Fucking do it.
don't trust me, to go out and do something without drinking, I'm like, bam, and who did
Prove
that
them
today?
wrong.
I did. I did.
Exactly. Prove them wrong because you are worth having a happy, drama-free life. And that's what you're doing. You're doing what you can to make your life as happy as it can be and as drama-free with your kids there and everyone's happy and you're good and you don't need to try to always numb out feelings. You're going to get to
Yep.
that point. You're starting already. It's so
Oh yes,
exciting.
I see differences already. So I mean, I know working on it from now until even further down the road, years down the road, that it's only going to get better. It can't get no worse. I know that much.
Exactly.
The
It's
only way
only
it
going to
can
get
get
better.
worse is if I slip back into the pits of hell, I guess is what I'm going to call it.
Yep.
Because
Basically, that's
that's
how
what
I
it
feel
feels
too.
like when I was there. I know that much. I didn't feel happy whatsoever. It was just a mask that I was just wearing, really.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like hell, really. I remember what that's like. Yeah, it's everything about your thoughts. Was this same for you? Like your thoughts are all like jumbled up, and when your thoughts are clear, it's just like doom and gloom, and you're full of anxiety, and you're so sad, and you're like, what do I do with my life? And I'm a failure, and all these things. And sure, when you're happy sometimes, but Is that only because you're drinking? Because that's what alcohol does. Alcohol makes you feel euphoric. That's its job. So
Yeah.
was that you? That's how it was for me. And that's such a
Yeah, that's
bad
how
place
it
to
was
be.
for me. Like it made me feel happy and it made things seem like exciting and yeah, yeah, yeah. And then over time it more turned to coping, basically. Like
Yeah.
I need a drink because I'm stressed. I need a drink because I'm like, even happy. I need a drink because I'm sad. I need a drink because this person pissed me off today.
Yep. Yep. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's not it, and it's not that way for me anymore. So there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. You just need to figure out new ways of doing things. So like, and plan ahead. Like think about, when exams are coming up, like how are you going to cope with that stress? Like what, come up with a plan in that way, or like how are you going to handle I don't know, some other unforeseeable circumstances that come up in the future where it's
Oh, there's
shitty.
been some of those already in the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks that I'm not going to bother to mention,
So you're
but they were
learning.
pretty traumatizing, and I got through those without drinking. So I'm like, if I
Exactly.
can get through those, like, there's no excuse of why I can't continue to. And it also made me feel angry at myself, I guess, when I thought about that, because it's like, well, why couldn't that have clicked all these other times? And I've wasted so, but then I was like,
I
there's no
know.
point in waste that. The main thing is I know this now, and now I can make a change and a difference, and that's all that matters. Another thing I noticed actually this time too is as I've been going through my house, decluttering and doing things, I've been coming across all these things I had planned I wanted to do, but I never got to them. So that's what I started doing. I started getting to them. I finally finished a book I've been wanting to read that my daughter got me from the library there, like probably 2 months ago. And usually any other time before, I guess, the alcohol addiction took over, like years and years ago, like I used to be able to read like one decent sized book in like 24 hours if it was that good, or 48
Yeah.
hours. So
Yeah.
so I was still taking them breaks in between, but I also had other things to focus on. But there was a lot of hobbies or projects or plans or goals that weren't met because the alcohol was just a bigger part of my life.
Exactly. Was a bigger part of your life. Exactly. And that's,
And it
I
was more
mean, it's
important at the time as
more
well, I guess.
exactly. Yeah. You needed it to be a friend for you at that time. Because that's basically sort of what alcohol is for a lot of people. It's like your best friend that's always there. And that's what you needed at the time. But right
Yeah.
now you don't need that anymore going forward. You don't need that as a best friend anymore. Alcohol. You have other
Nope.
things that you can rely on. So
I'm even
don't
trying to
try not.
reconnect with some old friends too at the same time. And I've already
Yeah.
reconnected with one I haven't seen in a few years, and it was
Good.
nice. We're making plans on doing some more stuff. And
Good.
she drinks, but she's like, a good friend. She's like, I understand what you're doing. So she said, we'll just smoke our weed. I said,
Huh.
sounds good to me.
Yeah, there you go. So that's good. That's actually one of my questions is what does your support system look like? Because that is huge. You need a support system.
Oh,
So
actually,
she sounds like a good one.
yeah, I have a pretty good support system. I have my partner, fiance, and my oldest daughter. She's 16. She always kind of gives me support, and like she kind of says, "Come on, mom, you're a bad bitch. Like, come on, you can get
Yeah.
through this." And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I can. And, oh yes, I have many people who support me
Good.
and want me to succeed. So I have no issues with that.
Good. Good. Because that's huge. A lot of people don't have that and it can be even harder on them.
Oh, I
But
would
yeah.
imagine it is because I know there was times during these crazy times that I did feel like I was alone, and like my support system I have now was my support system, but they were just so mentally exhausted and drained from a lot of my drinking and things
Yeah.
going on that they just couldn't even be there for me, even though they still were, but not as strong as what they're trying to do now, because they know, oh, this is probably the time we should be getting at it real good
Yeah.
now, because this is the fresh spot.
Yes, exactly. This is where you really need those people to come back. And most will. Some people might not come back into your life, but
Well, the
that's
ones
just
that might not, I'm not even worried about them because they weren't
good.
important anyway. So
Good, 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 good. Fuck, that's
I
that's
have my
awesome.
my main little family section and my couple little friends section, and that's all I need.
That's all you, exactly. That's all you need. And yeah, and books and more hobbies and like school, like you're doing all the right things. Did you have that other appointment with addiction services?
I had it yesterday.
Awesome. How was that?
Oh, it was pretty quick actually. I don't even think I was on the phone more than 30 minutes. And she's like, well, what services are you doing now? And I said, well, I'm doing individual counseling. I'm doing couples counseling with my fiance.
Good.
I told her about the AA meeting thing now, at least the minimum once a week is what I have it set to,
Good.
or a couple more times if it's a rough week.
Yeah.
And well, to be honest, she's like, there's really nothing we can offer you, because like if we were to offer you something, it would just duplicate services. If we were to throw even more counseling in there, she's like, that's just going to be way too much. So like, she told me if I needed to in the future to reach out to them, then reach out to them. But as of right now, like I have enough services on the go that
Okay.
it would just be too much for anything else.
I mean, that's sort of true though. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I feel relieved
Yeah.
because I have enough appointments, and like I
Hmm.
now have to really be strict with the calendar right now, because between CPS situation, and now I have to make almost a schedule weekly to deal with like the AA meeting part and this and that. Like
Hmm.
I feel like a very limited time person, I suppose, but it
Yeah.
made me feel good.
Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Um, well, I don't know. I think really just to kind of end it, I guess. Yeah, like the alcohol addiction thing is a very tricky thing. I know now, I realize I didn't realize how bad it was for me over time until I really now sit back, look at the whole big full picture. And
Yeah.
when people really think, oh, I see the big picture, nobody, there's still at times 100 full picture than that. It
Yep.
takes time. And I'm
Hmm.
still going to have probably those moments of like, even probably 5 years down the road, all of a sudden something's going to dawn on my head, and I'm like, oh my God, like
Oh yeah, still happens to me now.
revelations, man, like all these revelations that are
Yeah.
coming to light when you let your brain be away from it and sober, and think for yourself and retrain the brain of all the negative trauma crap into the
Hmm.
new positive life you're trying to create for yourself. It's a journey, but it's definitely worth it. You just got to take day at a time and live in the moment. Don't think about what's going to happen tomorrow. Don't think what happened yesterday. It's just all about right now.
Exactly. That's it. And sometimes it's hour by hour when it's hard, but you
Exactly.
can you can get through it.
And I'm very excited to get my coin collection going on.
Yes, that's
On the booklet, it looks so pretty with all the rainbow colors. I'm going to be going there exactly on the 25th, because I know I'll be getting my 2 month one that day.
yep.
And then, yeah, and then most definitely, like as the dates go along, and I know what dates they are on the 25th of whatever month, I'm going there on that exact day to get my coin, because
Yep.
I know the feeling. It was so weird when I went there. Actually, that's probably something to touch before I let you go, is
Yeah.
the first time experience of that meeting. It was completely different than the ones I went to before. Like they used to have the addiction mental health meetings in the legal aid building, and those are the ones I went to before. Besides the 2 week day program in Halifax, I did that too. But
Mhm.
the meetings, it was more of a cramped up little room with everybody in chairs and talking. Now, this was a whole different experience, because when I bursted myself into this building all upset, out of breath from running here,
Mhm.
and everybody just kind of looked at me, and I was like, well, what the hell do I do now? Like, is
Mhm.
somebody going to tell me what I'm supposed to do here? Or nobody said nothing. I seen all the chairs there and a few empty ones. I said, well, I guess I'm supposed to sit down.
Mhm.
And they were like into a prayer thing. So I was like, well, they must be getting just started, because I know it was only a couple minutes after 12 when the time it was they were supposed to start.
Mhm.
And I was sitting there, I was all shaky. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like, what am I didn't say, what am I doing here? It was more of, oh my God, thank God I didn't go to Celtic Corner. Oh, I didn't go to Celtic Corner, because I was thinking, oh man, if I would have even so much seen the entrance of that place, I probably would have snapped. Or
Yeah.
I probably would have crossed the road and went to the Alderney liquor store, one or the other.
Yeah.
One of them would have worked. But yeah, that meeting was very moving for me. Like and like they did the coin thing, and the coin thing with that for me, like when you went to go up to get it,
Yeah.
I didn't understand what was going on at first, but when I caught on, okay, this is the coin thing. And when I went up to go get the two separate coins that day, because I got the 1 month and the daily one, because where
Mhm.
I, didn't go reaching out that day, they all started cheering and applauding and going all crazy. And I'm like, at first I was like, what? But then at the same time, I had this feeling like, wow, that feels freaking good, man.
Yep.
Like, and then when they got to the 24-hour coin, I was like, I want to do that again. I was like, I'm coming up for that coin. And at the end of it, like, well, I got to hear people's stories,
Yeah.
but at the end of this meeting, it's just this random stranger. Oh, I listened to your story, what you said. Like, I know with COVID and stuff, like, I have my mask on. Do you mind if I give you a hug? And I said, girl, you can give me a hug all you want, because I think I need one right about now. And just the feeling of getting a hug from that stranger, like, because they understand your pain, they're relating to you right now,
Yep.
was very moving. And that's the other thing. When I was in that room with all those strangers, I had the weirdest sensation of, I felt like I was home.
I know what you
And I
mean.
heard other people say that too. And I felt like I was in a place I was not going to be judged. And even though God loved my family, but there's just still days of where things from past will kind of come out. And even though it makes me feel like a bag of dirt, and I know it comes out of them because of hurt, I've
Yeah.
caused them hurt.
Yeah.
But like, at the same time, I can't relate to the things I've been with to a certain point, but in that room, it just makes me feel I can be open and not feel I have to watch what I say. I can
Exactly.
freely talk about it and
Yeah.
heal from it and all that good stuff.
Yeah. That's huge. Like to be around other people who completely understand. So I guess to end, you sharing today will someone's going to hear your story and feel like they're not so alone anymore. I think that's it. And like who knows, maybe in the future I'd want to have you on for like an update or something like that to see
Oh
like,
yeah, I'm
you
all
know.
down for it, man. Why not?
Yeah, awesome. That's so great. Okay, well I'm going to press stop recording, but then like I'll still talk to you for a second. So
Already.
I'll end it now. But so yeah, thank you very much for joining and good
Oh, it
luck
was
to you. You're
fun
doing all the right
actually.
things.